Hello and welcome. It's Frances here. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I bid thee welcome. There is a subscribe button below if you would like to help support this channel by subscribing. Also a bell to be notified as to when I upload more content. I'm coming to you from Ghana country, and as such I acknowledge the Ghana people of the Adelaide Plains as being the traditional custodians of the lands upon which I reside. So this video carries on from the previous two, where I really have been sort of unpacking and questioning what the word witch means to people these days. And I'm also, I guess, wanting people to consider this word and why they're using it, why they're describing their spiritual practices as magic or witchcraft, as opposed to anything else. And yes, I am initiated into a specific tradition of contemporary witchcraft, but I'm definitely not saying that you can't be a witch unless you are initiated. All I'm saying is that in this modern world, everybody seems to be running around calling themselves witches and what they do, describing it as magic and witchcraft. And I'm wondering why. It's almost like we've reached a saturation point of this word or these words, where they no longer hold any real meaning, value, or even reverence. And from my perspective, yes, I'm sort of trying to understand what constitutes someone to be a witch these days. Because through my training, I'm used of having specific sort of boundaries, criteria, check boxes, basically. And it means certain things to be a witch, to perform witchcraft. And if these boxes are no longer relevant in our modern world, then it opens up the question, what makes a person a witch and what they do to be described as witchcraft? I was taught, for example, that witchcraft is about having a deeper connection with the old ones, the ones that we refer to as gods and goddesses, that it awakens the essence of our true spirit, our true purpose that lies within ourselves, that through using it, it enables us to connect with those who have gone before, our various ancestors, DNA, the biological soul, spirit. And as I've mentioned in earlier videos, I perceive witchcraft as a religion. I also see it as a spiritual tradition, a magical tradition, and I guess also a tradition that trains the mind, body, and soul. And through the practices and rites that I undertake, it awakens the soul of the witch, enabling us to become, basically, the best that we can be through stepping truly into our own power. And that also means taking full responsibility for ourselves and basically the actions and reactions, or flow and effect of what we do in this incarnation. So in essence, it gives us a foundation. It doesn't inhibit us, but it also acts, I guess, as a necessary benchmark upon which we can reflect the progress that we've made along our journey. And a number of initiates sort of use the 8 festivals, the seasonal festivals, as sort of moments of reflection, looking how far they've gone based on where they were the previous Sabbath. And I think the sort of benchmark, the sort of like reality check, is getting increasingly more and more important in this world that is being filled up with so many more illusions. As many of these illusions are really just cheap knockoffs with that sort of superficial feel-good factor that lasts really for just a brief period of time. And it just increases the reason why we need these benchmarks, these sort of lines drawn in the sand, because they help to guide us. They also help us to, I guess, to find the diamond in the rough, so to speak, or probably more accurately these days, to find that diamond amongst all the cheapened coloured glass being passed off as diamonds. So it really has nothing to do with control and limitations. Instead, it's providing a starting point, something that can be used as comparison. And we all sort of need to develop these important skills, such as ascertaining our true self, who we really are, developing self-discipline, and more importantly, especially in this world where we so compare ourselves to other people and other things, we need to develop self-respect. I also believe that you can't be a witch if you're all in your head. And that means wishing for a better life, yet putting nothing into action to physically create it. You need to really put your body into something. You need to put your heart into something. You need to put your soul and spirit into something. You need to look at your whole life, not just isolated parts of it. And again, we see a lot of external short-term fixes that really don't address the underlying, often internal, foundational, in our people call it the root cause of a problem or an issue, and whether that problem or issue actually is a problem or issue, or whether we are just deeming it so based on external influences. And I guess a hard lesson in life is that we make ourselves exactly what we are today. And I realize that this may not necessarily resonate with some people, and sometimes I have to do a double take when I hear this from other people going, you don't know me, etc. But then when I stop and really think about it, it does make sense. And sometimes we need to take that bitter pill. And this is because on a soul level, there's more to us than just this physical self. On a soul level, we actually choose the lessons that we want to learn each lifetime. And it's throughout that lifetime that we draw these experiences to us in order to learn. So not everything is all going to be just love and roses. Or if there are roses, if you think about it, roses have thorns, unless they've been humanly modified, like we can get thornless roses these days, but majority of natural roses have thorns, and there's a reason why they have thorns. So to me, witchcraft reminds us that we need to be responsible for our life, for what we bring in, for what we surrender, for what we release. It teaches us that there are times of abundance. There are also fallow times. We are reminded that we reap the seeds that we have planted. And every year we move through the seasons, and we are reminded of this, of what's around us. Every month we watch the moon wax and wane. Another reminder that we have times of abundance and fallow times. This, again, is nature. We're not separate from it. We are part of it. Nature is probably one of the greatest teachers that we have. And you don't have to be a witch to follow nature. You can follow whatever tradition or not you want to be. Nor does following nature make you a witch. It's just one of these influences that we have. So we need to stop and pay attention, cease living in our heads all the time and come back to our bodies, come back to the here and now, come back to this physical realm in which we reside. And it's here that we are incarnated for a reason. And yes, a reason as to why we're living in a world and living in this world at this time, going through all that we're going through. We may not necessarily understand it, but if we truly wish to walk the path of the witch, then it's actually truly a time where witchcraft can shine, because we often emerge out of times of chaos and darkness. And this is sort of evident through all history of humankind. There have been times of even greater darkness that we're in now, where magic, witchcraft, the shaman connecting with spirits has actually come to the forefront. And again, it's a reminder for us to get out of our heads, to turn off our devices that are keeping distracting us, that keep us sort of sucked into an increasingly artificial world of make-believe. Get out of our heads and look around us. Truly look around us. Sit in nature. Nature is our greatest teacher, as I said, and allow that knowledge and wisdom of the ancient ones, of the old ones, of the nature spirits, of our ancestors to come to us. This knowledge will not be there because it's so subtle. We will not notice it if we are fixated on the latest gadget or gizmo, sort of caught up into this capitalistic mind trap. We won't hear these wise words of those who have gone before if our desire is to purely seek revenge or entrap someone. These desires actually come from the ego. I'm not going to go into patriarchy and matriarchy, but it's also a patriarchal response to a patriarchal community, society, influence that we've been living under for the last at least 3,000 odd years. We need to come back to the self, come back to nature. And for wanting to sort of explore and call ourselves witches, there's really no excuse for arrogance or ignorance, really. Let's go with ignorance. Ignorance actually opens us up to harm. The less we know, the less we're prepared, the fewer internal skills we have, therefore opening ourselves up to allowing harm. And because we're all energetically connected, opening ourselves up for more darkness in our lives. And I'm not just talking about the sort of gothic, ecstatic, fashionable darkness that often gets associated with witchcraft, called kids' club sort of thing, dressed running around in black. I'm talking about an energetic darkness, a heaviness. Witchcraft makes us be responsible. So consider who you're giving your power away to. And why do you do this? Especially if you are creating magic or spells, or your focus is from the head. Because there will always be ignorance and arrogance. There will always be manipulation and falsehoods. That's how some people just roll. However, this reason why there's always going to be these people, these situations, is another good reason why we need to connect in with our inner self, our inner power. And this power has nothing to do with sort of power over. That's a very patriarchal perception. It's power within. Being comfortable with who you are and who you are not. Again, it's about boundaries. And knowing when it's time to do the work to ascertain who you truly are. And no one else can do that for you. There is no book, there's no course, there's no magical spell that you can take off Reddit or TikTok. If people are saying that there are, it's merely an illusion to suck you in. Because true witchcraft, and this from my perspective, is that journey within to your own self, your own heart, your own soul. And as I mentioned in another video, this is where witchcraft truly lies. Not with the candles or the crystals or the skulls or whatever people are rattling these days, but deep within your soul. And like anything in life, you only get out of it what you put in. There is more to witchcraft than the aesthetics. It doesn't matter how many cheap knockoff Temu products or anything else that are of that sort of genre that you have on your altar. These simply do not make you a witch. If you're not able to harness the essence, that magic flows through the craft from within. And just a note, I guess, as the Hermetic principle states, as above, so below, as within, so without. If your without will is filled with cheap knockoff Temu items, it mirrors your within will. So what does that say about your within will? As within, so without. Good question to just stop and think about. And I also find it sort of bemusing, the increasing number of witches, people calling themselves witches these days, who are running around basically liking to disparage or cast shade really on concepts such as the Wiccan Rede, unharmed none. And they tend to be doing this also while running around in their microplastic artificial crap that pollutes the waterways, that adds destruction to the planet. And it's as if they live in a bubble, that their actions have no consequence. And this is incorrect. And it doesn't matter whether it's within a witchcraft perspective, a magical arena, or a basic spiritual one. One of the basic laws of the universe, the cosmos, is that we all reside within the cosmos. And one of these laws is the law of cause and effect, where every action is an equal and opposite reaction. It's got nothing to do with karma, the threefold law of return that we can read, anything like that. It's basic laws of the universe. So just because you're wearing a pentacle, dressed in all your gothy blackness, gothiness, snarling over skulls, it doesn't make you immune or even more powerful than these underlying concepts that form part of all creation. However, if you want to sort of expand your energy, leaving so, go ahead, knock yourself out. I personally prefer to work with the cosmic tides. Not only do I tend to get more stuff done, but when I get stuff done, I know it has a longer lasting effect because I am working with the very forces of creation as opposed to against them. And again, this is one of the underpinning aspects of the craft that I follow. While it may not be all glitz and glamour, it's about attainment, improvement, the elevation, for want of a better word. And because we are humans, it's easy for us to get caught up in our ego minds. Therefore, one advantage, I guess, of my tradition and others like it is that through honoring the gods, the other, we bring that power, that frequency of energy into ourselves so that, in essence, we become gods incarnate on this physical plane. And when we truly act on this level, when we are adept enough to contain that power within, we become masters of our own power. We become like magnets, attracting what we need to attract. And we become the most powerful essence around us. And it's interesting because you say that and then people start then thinking with their ego mind about how much stuff they can obtain. When you're operating from that higher true sense of self, it's not about quantity. That's all ego driven. That's all our sort of capitalistic patriarchal mindset. It's about quality. You don't need everything. And I guess this understanding of power, especially power from a non-egocentric perspective, is something we must learn because we're in a society where we see power as often leading to corruption due to the unhealthy, unbalanced, misaligned ego. And we're all in danger of that. Even within the craft, but even within my own tradition. We are human after all. However, the craft still reminds us that we are responsible and the gods will make us accountable for our actions. So I guess wrapping this up, again, I'm asking you, if you'd like to, just take a moment and consider that as a magnet, what exactly are you attracting into your life through the types of magic that you are utilizing? What again makes you a witch? And how and why do you define your practice as witchcraft? Blessing.